Am I the idiot for choosing not to pay for my daughter's university fees despite paying for her brother's? My male 57, daughter Jane, female 21, has recently been accepted into the university of her choice. Now me and my wife, female 55, are glad with this news. The only thing is that Jane got accepted to do an English degree. Now Jane, compared to her two brothers Mark, male 28, and Leo, male 30, was quite late in applying to university. When me and my wife asked her to start at 18, she claimed that she was not ready and wanted to have a little rest. A little rest being going out with friends and traveling the whole of last year with her boyfriend. It should be noted that I supplied Jane with all the money needed for her little rest. Now me and my wife have nothing against Jane doing what she did. She's young and young people live to explore and do what they do. However, before me and my wife allowed for Jane to do her thing, we made her promise that when she did apply to university it was for a degree that was worth it. Jane was going through a weird phase where she wanted to be many things that were more on the creative side. Fast forward a year later, we find out that Jane's gone behind our backs and applied for an English degree. Both Leo and Mark took medical degrees and are now very good, well-paid doctors. One would think that this would motivate Janet to go on the same path, but instead she has decided to be herself. I sat down Jane last night and told her that if she decided to go through with the English degree, I would not support her at all and that she would have to take out her own student loan. At this she began crying, claiming that I was the worst dad ever, and had always favored her brothers over her, because I had paid for their university fees. Now this is totally incorrect. I did literally pay for her travel all of last year. My sons think that I'm being too harsh and that I should simply support Jane regardless of what she chooses. But is it too much to ask of my daughter to follow through with an actually useful degree? Edit. No, my daughter's year of travel does not add up to her brother's tuition fees, not even close. For those wondering, I work as a cardiologist. Not wanting my daughter to do an English degree is not because I'm sexist, but because I want her to do something useful which she can live off instead of depending on me for the rest of her life. I don't even know if this is something she really wants to do, or if it's another way of trying to rebel against me. Now for a few comments before the update. You're the idiot. If it was because you paid an equal amount to her travels as her brother's education, I would say NTA. But because she chose a degree you disapprove of, you are punishing her. Also, I have an English degree. Sure, I don't earn as much as a doctor, but I've been a librarian for 10 years and have helped thousands of people. My pay is enough to keep me housed, fed, and comfortable. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Not everyone wants to do a medical degree. It's hard, it's long, and it leads you to being a doctor, which isn't for everyone. An English degree is a good degree. It's not a silly degree or a useless degree. I totally understand why she says you favored her brothers. This is clear proof of that. Now for the update. I would like to start by saying that I appreciate all the comments that were given, however unpleasant they were. They helped me understand that I was in the wrong, and some provided me with advice on what I should do if I wanted to keep in contact with my daughter. I realized that I was living too much in the past and wasn't taking into consideration how much things have changed in the last 30 years. My father worked as an artist, paintings, and had little to no business. The only thing that saved my family from absolute poverty was my mother working in a supermarket. I guess I was afraid of such things happening to Jane. Now I hadn't talked to Jane about her degree until last Thursday. When I brought the topic up, she confessed to me that she was ready to take one of the degrees I had recommended to her. I told her there was no need to, and she looked at me as if I was playing a cruel joke. I reassured her that I was being serious, and she began crying, due to happiness. I realized that I may have been favoring my sons due to their obedience to follow what I asked of them, and was punishing Jane for being herself rather than fitting into whatever I decided to make of her. Jane will be attending Oxford Uni later in the year to take her degree, and the relationship between us has never been better. I am highly appreciative of all the comments on my previous post. They helped me see how much I was prioritizing financial gain over my daughter's well-being, something which should have never been a question in the first place. Comment 1. This is what I love to see, assholes taking the judgment they've been given and deciding to change for the better rather than staying stubborn. Wishing you and your daughter the best, OP. Comment 2. Oxford is arguably the best university in the world. A degree in playing Candy Crush from Oxford would probably help set you up for life. Now, for the next story. Would I be an idiot if I set boundaries with my mom about my son? This is gonna be a long one, so buckle up. I gave birth 6 weeks ago to my first child, a little boy. My mom was over the moon excited. I knew she might have a little trouble with boundaries, but it has gotten so much worse than I thought. For starters, she accidentally, whether truly an accident or not, I don't know, calls herself mom. My dad has even done it. He said, "I'll hand you to Mimi," her name instead of grandma. He then proceeded to hand him to her even though I asked for him. In addition, she won't let me hold him or do anything for him when I am at her house. If I try to feed him, she jumps in and takes over. If he's laying down and wakes up and starts crying, she rushes to comfort him instead of giving me a chance. If I say, Let me see him. She very seriously asks me why. I usually follow up with, because he's my son. She'll be very hesitant to hand him back and it'll usually take a minute or two. She also constantly says she loves me and my brothers, but she loves my baby more than us. She constantly implies her love for him supersedes the love my wife and I have for him. I have been recovering from a C-section for the past 6 weeks and I am returning to my job next week. She is going to be at my daycare. I am worried her lack of boundaries will result in him getting far too attached to her and not as attached to us. Now you may be saying, of course you wouldn't be the idiot for setting boundaries because that's what my wife says. I feel really bad because she had a hysterectomy after she gave birth to me because of cancer when she desperately wanted more kids. She sees this as an opportunity to live vicariously through me. She also has untreated mental health issues that have not really been addressed by our family. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. For wanting to set boundaries. Now this may make me unpopular, but after everything you said here, I feel you would be an idiot if you let her babysit. There is absolutely no way that she's going to respect your boundaries. I think she will make this situation much worse, if you are correct and she has untreated MH issues. She's going to view herself as the mom, and that's how she's going to have your son refer to her. She's actually doing it right now, in front of you. You honestly believe she's going to do as you wish when you're not around to supervise them? If she is your daycare and this goes south, you will have only yourselves to hold accountable. Letting someone in her situation, with her frame of mind, watch your son is like leaving an addict, who is not in any treatment, with their favorite drug and expecting them to not use it because you told them not to. Now for the update. I took everyone's advice to heart. I only have ever wanted to keep my son safe and happy. I sat my mom down with my wife and we tried to have a civil discussion about boundaries. She flipped the EFF out and started accusing us of taking him away from her. She said things like, "How do you expect me to just not love him?" We decided then we were gonna limit contact between him and her. We are financially in a place now where a licensed daycare is available to us, although since I receive WIC and other benefits I want to reach out and see if we can receive assistance at all. I have not taken him completely out of her life, however I am much more firm with her. Like some of you said, I demanded she change her nickname to Grandma instead of Mimi. I would repeat things firmly such as, "I am his mother and I am taking my baby now." However, she has not let up with her obsession over him. She regularly refers to him as our baby when bragging about him. She has actually gotten worse and now criticizes everything I do as a mother. She is very quick to get upset when he reacts positively to me, since you know, I am his mom, and doesn't react the same to her. I am considering going completely no contact with her for this reason. However, it may take a bit because I have to separate myself from her in a lot of ways. I just wanted to update and thank everybody for the advice. It really woke me up to the fact that I was thinking of her and her needs over the health and safety of my son. Edit. Alrighty, buckle up. I know everyone wants to know how much of a nightmare she is. Her and my wife work at the same job, should have mentioned that. It makes it way more complicated to separate from her. My wife is trans and is not out to anybody but me, my mom, and a few of her friends. Well, today my mother informed me, in confidence, that she outed my wife to her HR director. This is like a Lifetime movie, but it just keeps getting worse and worse. She put my wife's job at risk, making it so if she lost her job it would be harder for us to support our child. I think that she has a bigger plan for all of this. Comment 1. I'm sorry you are going through this. I had a similar experience with my mom, although my mom was pretty tame compared to yours. She started giving him a nickname that I hated and had to be very forceful about. I had to hammer home some boundaries which resulted in her crying to my dad and sister. Then I had to set my dad and sister straight too. It was an uncomfortable time. I ultimately threatened to move hundreds of miles away, and then everyone started to behave. I was consistent with boundaries and I think that's why everyone started to behave better with me and my son. Comment 2. Also make sure your daycare knows to never release your child to her even if she claims there has been an emergency. No contact I think is the best bet. And make sure actions have consequences if you eventually reallow contact. Every time you refer to Grandma as Mom we will immediately leave and you are on a 2-week timeout. Anytime you do not immediately hand over my son when I ask, we will leave and go no contact for a week. Etc. etc. You need to do this now before she could possibly try to sue for grandparent rights. Check your local laws. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my sister she needs to pay for child care or I'm not going to her wedding? My 25, female, sister's wedding, 28, female, is in a couple months. She recently sent out inventions. I was invited as a regular guest, not a bridesmaid or MOH since we live a state apart, and obviously there's a certain level of involvement and time that goes into being part of a bridal party, which I understand. I want to be there for my sister and obviously I'd like to see her get married. But the problem is, I'm a single mom. My son is 6, and when he's not at school I need to be home watching him, so being out for hours at a time isn't really in the cards for me right now. My sister's wedding is child-free. Since it's taking place in her state, I need to commute, and I'd probably have to be gone from my house for 2 full days. I can't have my family watch my son since they'll all be at the wedding. And I don't really have friends who will babysit for 2 days. I contacted my sister and asked if she'd be willing to let my son come to the wedding with me, and explained he couldn't be left alone so young and that I didn't have anyone to watch him. She responded by telling me her no children policy was strict and she wouldn't make exceptions. I explained my situation again, and said I'd need some form of child care or to bring him with me. I then asked her if she would pay me to hire a nanny or babysitter to watch him. She got offended and said, "Children and weddings are both parts of life. And I need to just figure it out, it's my kid, my problem." Which sure that's true, but also, her wedding, her making it a problem by not allowing me to bring my kid. I told her she could either pay for my child care or I wouldn't be going to her wedding. All she did was call me ridiculous and entitled. She said she shouldn't have to pay for my child and that part of being an adult is knowing how to take care of that kind of thing. I think that's ridiculous. Money is tight. Child care is expensive. I can't magically afford for someone to watch my 6-year-old and most people would just let me bring him to the wedding. My sister says she's definitely not paying for child care, and I guess you're not going to the wedding then. My whole family is mad at me for not being there for my sister. Am I the idiot? Edit. I think some people are misunderstanding the post, so I'll be more clear. I'm not trying to force my sister to pay for anything, and it's totally fine if I can't come, she accepts that, and I just don't go. It only became a problem when my entire family came after me for not going to the wedding. I'm not mad at my sister for not paying, I'm mad at her for turning the family against me and saying, "Me doesn't want to come to the wedding," and complaining about me behind my back to my parents. She complained about me not going to the wedding as if I was purposely avoiding it. There's no updates, so here's the comments. You're the idiot. I get where you're coming from, but you went about this all wrong. I'm sorry, but it's not within my budget to travel so far and also arrange to pay for child care when I get there. I'll do my best. Full stop. Don't ask for handouts from a stressed out bride. Is that what people do? Good Lord. If she's gracious, she or the family will offer a solution. But you don't ask for that. That's where the entitlement came from. In the end, the kid is your responsibility, no one else's, not the idiot. She is right, your child, your problem. Your circumstances dictate that the only solution is staying with him, as all other alternatives she has rejected, so your problem, your solution, and if she doesn't like it, that's her problem. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. See you next time.